Hello and welcome to the Nursing Mother's Room. This is a podcast where we talk about all things motherhood. I'm your host, Regina, and today I have my special friend, Sarah West here, and we are going to be talking about boy moms. It's going to be good. First thing, you have two boys.
Yes.
And did you ever think that you were going to be a boy mom?
When I was pregnant with my first, Henry, I didn't know that I assumed it was going to be a girl until I was walking through Target and I'm walking through the boy clothes and I just start crying. And I'm like, this baby could be a boy. And I think in my heart, I knew it was a boy. And I was like, wow, this baby I'm carrying could be a boy. And then it ended up being Henry. Yeah, and it was great.
So did you find out early that you were having a boy?
Yes. We found out, I think I was 15 weeks pregnant when we found out. We did the blood test. And a part of me just knew it was going to be a little boy. Yeah.
I love that. I think that's where I was too when I first found out that I was pregnant, was that I just immediately in my head, I had already had dreams and had been seeing like a little boy running around. And so when people are like, oh, well, there could be a possibility it's a girl. And I had people from back home before we had our gender reveal, they were texting me and they were like, oh, I had a dream that you had a girl. And in my heart, I already had it confirmed that it was a boy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, that's great. But I already feel like it's a boy. And then they're like, oh, I guess we'll see and stuff. And so it cracked me up afterwards because I text them immediately after I found out it was a boy. And I was like, hey, it's a boy. I knew it was a boy, all this stuff. And they were so offended when I said that. And I was like, I'm just telling you that this is what I'm feeling, that this is a boy and all the stuff. They were just like, oh, okay, well, congrats, I guess.
I guess.
It just always makes me laugh because I feel like people really rely on dreams or visions or different things to hear from the Lord, and all of that stuff is great. But I fully believe that for me, for my family, the Lord reveals those things to us, but he also reveals those things to those that are closest to us and those that are connected with us.
Doing life with you.
Yeah, exactly. Or the ones that are in a sense connected to the Spirit as well. You know what I mean? Because I'm what the Lord is speaking to me, if he speaks something to somebody else, what he's telling me for my family, he's not going to contradict that by telling somebody else to tell me this is for her.
Right.
Because I'm why would that be the case? I remember a teaching from Cito where he was saying how people were giving him all these dreams and visions, and they were telling him all this stuff and things for his kids and all that. And he's like, I know for a fact that that's not the Lord, because why is the Lord telling you about what to do for my kids instead of coming to me? And he's like, because that means either I'm not hearing from the Lord or I'm doing something wrong that he has to go and speak to somebody else about my family. And so I just always that always stuck with me, because I'm there's no way that I feel the Lord would reveal those things to others, not to me first, And so I know that it messes with a lot of people when they're kind of wrong in a sense of these things. And it's not to say that anybody's bad or any of those things, but I just think that sometimes people really rely on that and what they're hearing, which is great. But I think that sometimes when you come to somebody, it needs to be in agreement with the things that the Lord's already speaking to them,
Right.
And if it's not, then either you're hearing something wrong, or it may be something that you're not even supposed to share, or that you're supposed to pray about, or different things. So stuff like that always cracks me up. But I just I always love moments like that where it's without a doubt. And I know that a lot of people always say that the mom knows. Mom knows.
There's an intuition.
Yeah, you just feel. That's why this pregnancy for me, I'm things are already feeling different than they were with RJ. And so I mean, it could be a boy, just a more chill boy, But at the same time, I also feel boys and girls are completely different. So why wouldn't a pregnancy for them also be completely different? You know what I mean? I feel a lot more calm this pregnancy. Ryan was even he was telling me that I seem more relaxed. That there's not a lot more anxiety. And I think it's also because it's my second pregnancy.
Right. Know what to
but
expect.
It's also, but it's also this thing of like, I don't feel the same things that I felt before. And before, when I was pregnant with RJ, I was just miserable. Could not eat, could not sleep, anything. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see what's going to be next. But at the same time, I think it's crazy. So on that topic of boys and girls being different, I have been seeing so much, I don't know if you have, on social media and stuff, of people being so offended when moms or people in general are saying that like, oh yeah, this is a boy mom thing, or this is a girl mom thing, or whatever. And people are like, oh, well, my kid does that too. Like, you don't get to just single out one gender because my kid does that too.
Right.
And I'm like, I have one boy, you have two boys.
Right.
And it's like, we don't have that girl experience. But even just seeing the way that my niece is and seeing my son, they're very, very
and how
different.
We were.
Yeah.
Knowing how we were growing up. As girls. Yeah.
Literally. And I just think about it because my niece, she was so calm. She was like just always chill. She loved like getting into cabinets and like looking into things and stuff. But she wasn't like ever really just like running around or jumping on couches or like throwing things or, and she was just always more like, she would just sit and play. And her favorite thing right now is she wants to cook, If I tried to do that with RJ, he'd probably, hit me with the pan, you know what I mean? So it just cracks me up that there are so many people now that get offended at these things that they're like, oh, this is just universal. Right. You don't get to say that it's, a boy thing or a girl thing.
Right.
And I'm like,
yeah. No, I mean, boys are different than girls. Men are different than women. And I think in our culture right now, there is this thought of trying to blur those lines between men and women and about how God created a man and how God created a woman. And I think even as boy moms, it's so important for us to understand that boys are different than girls. And then, young men are different than young women. And God, God has created us differently. And our roles are just as important, 100%. But they're different. And the way that, if I ever have a daughter, the way that I raise her compared to how I raise my son, there are going to be some differences. There are going to be certain things that I really want to instill in my son and different things that I really would want to instill in my daughter. And I think that's just a worldly, demonic agenda, honestly, to try and blur those lines,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Now, when you and I first met, we had a really, really interesting conversation about this revelation that you had of raising godly men. You want to share a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, I think in our world right now, it's so imperative that we have godly men who steward a family well, steward their wives well, be Jesus-loving servant leaders. And that starts now. It starts when your child is a toddler, and think it's really important to think long-term. Our kids are young. They're in the toddler stage, but it's important to have a vision for them. It's important to understand, our parenting styles now, how they're going to shape this child into a young man. And I think about that. I think about what is a godly man. And thank God I have my husband who's a great example of that. And when I think of him, I think of hardworking. I think of someone who takes responsibility for their actions. I mean, that's a big one. That's something we can instill in our kids now. Say they're 3-4 years old. We're teaching them consequences. I think with some gentle parenting, it can give them almost like a license to believe that your consequences don't have actions. And that is a dangerous thing for a young man to believe, that your actions don't have consequences and that you are not responsible for the way that, your actions impact others. I mean, think of that as a husband. If you don't have that understanding, or that conviction, then you're not going to be a good husband. And it is my responsibility from God to raise, you know, and it's hard because they're little
Yeah.
right now, but we do have to think about that. We have to think about our parenting. We have to think about our discipline and the love we show them too. We want men who are able to love and love extravagantly. And so these are things that we have to think about, you know, as moms, I think.
Yeah. How do you feel that your relationship with your father has helped shape the way that you want to raise your boys?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this. Like, I mean, I have a good relationship with my dad. But honestly, I feel that the father has reparented me to be the type of woman and the type of mom that I'm called to be. I really believe that. I feel free. I feel whole. I feel filled. And I think that is so important as a mom because if you are whole, you know, you are going to the Lord to fill any emptiness in your heart, because then you're not looking for your children to fill that.
Yeah.
Because that is inappropriate, you know?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of mothers who have sons look to their sons to fill an emptiness, to heal something that's broken, and that's not their job. It's not their job, and it creates unhealthy, codependent relationship. Yeah, and I think that's something that's really important as a mom, to go to the Father and be fathered. Be fathered by the Father. It doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter how amazing your father was. I think you have an amazing head start. But even so, you need to go to the Father and be refathered, be parented by him, be disciplined by him, you know? And I think then we can go to our kids and come from such a more whole place, you know?
Yeah, I love that. I think that that's one of the biggest things that we can give our kids is coming from a place of being whole, not coming from a place of lack or need. Right. And I think that sometimes even for a lot of women, I know for me when I was growing up and looking to date somebody and all these things, I was looking for that validation, that security, those different things from somebody. Right. And then when they wouldn't meet those needs, even just for like a level of trust, you know, I had several people that I was dating or in the church and things like that, and they were the biggest liars, the biggest, you know, addicts to things that they shouldn't be. They were, you know, lying about different things, but they're on stage every Sunday. And it was just always so detrimental for me, for my view of men and a potential husband and a potential father for my future kids. And so many things that I was seeing was like leading me astray. And part of it too is that I think that we sometimes look for the things that like we didn't have, you know. And I love my dad. I have a great relationship with my father as well, but he was always like, he can be emotionally closed off. And I think that it was just the way that he was raised. And honestly, even when talking about it and diving deeper into it, he was definitely a cried out baby. And even now looking at research and different things and stuff of the just like emotional vulnerability for people, that for so many people that they were just kind of just left to just figure it out. You know what I mean? And so for him, I'm like, even understanding those things, I see him in a different light, and I see these different things, and I don't hold any of this stuff against him. It's not on him. It's not his fault. It's not even his parents' fault, because they didn't know any better either.
The best that they knew how at the time.
Exactly. And so it's like you have a bigger sense of grace for these situations and these different things. But I always knew for me that in seeing certain ways that my father would handle certain situations or conversations and stuff, I was like, I know that I need more than that. I know that I need more than that. So when Ryan and I even got together, we had these conversations. We sat and talked. And Ryan, though, that's a funny thing too. Ryan resembles my dad a lot in that he was very reserved, wasn't, you know, gonna talk a lot, was very more, you know, just to himself. And so when we started hanging out, I was like, hey, I need you to communicate with me, buddy. You know what I mean? And for him, it's like, it's not that I was trying to change him, and it's not that it's a personality thing. I didn't come in and I'm like, you need to be this type of person and stuff. But I was like, hey, in order for us to be at a good place, I need you to meet me where I'm at with this. And this is something that I need. And I need you to stretch yourself a little bit for this to work for us. And he did. And he did.
Yeah.
And there hadn't been any issues. He didn't make me feel bad about it. He didn't, you know, it wasn't this thing of, oh yeah, you're just so needy. Oh, you're so insecure. Why do I have to explain stuff to you? Like all these things which I had dealt with past, you know, relationships. And it wasn't the case with him. He was like, oh, okay, I'm going to work on it, you know? And he always tried and made an effort. And I think that there is just such a difference between being able to like grow with somebody versus like coming in and like trying to change them or trying to be like, hey, I need to come in and fix you and stuff like that. And I feel like a lot of people sometimes can come in. I mean, I was like that. I was dating people that I thought I could change, you know? I'm like, oh, you're just going to fall in love with me so much that you're just going to become the perfect person. You know what I mean? Like genuinely.
It's almost like an ego.
Yeah, literally.
Like an ego boost.
Literally like, oh, I'm
look
so
what
great.
I can do.
Yeah, you know? And so it was just crazy for, you know, the longest time in certain relationships. And I started to realize that the things that I'm needing are not, I'm not asking for much, you know? Because I'm like, he would say something or talk about something. And I was like, okay, that doesn't make sense though. And he's like, yeah, but this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, then why didn't you just say that? And he's like, no, I did though. And I'm like, you think that you did in your head. And I'm like, but you need to actually communicate that. And so we would work on that. And it was a thing that I had to be patient with him and grow in that with him and to talk with him about these things and stuff. And so it wasn't a thing of, oh, you need to talk to me correctly or this isn't going to work. You know what I mean? And so there's always just even a different approach for that and how we communicate things, you know, as women too, we can either allow our sons and our husbands to like flourish and grow, or we can come in and try to be like a mother and like, you need to do this or you need to do that. And like, that would never work. No. If my husband came to me and tried to act like my dad and tell me what to do, that would never work. That would
be weird, yeah.
I'm like, he married a feisty Latina. He knows exactly what he got himself into. I'm like, try that with me, buddy, you know? And so it's like, I think of all these things and I think of just the relationship with my dad, the relationship with my husband, the different things that we have, even like seeing my husband with his dad, seeing my father-in-law and their relationship, you know, because of them being boys. Like I just see all these different things and and again, it's not that anybody's bad. It's not that there's anything wrong, but it's like, I see so many things and I'm not just cherry picking either, but I'm gleaning from the good things that I see in them and these different things, you know, like it's okay to be reserved. It's okay to not just, you know, talk and just blab, but it's also okay to share your feelings. It's okay to share your emotions. And even in the way that we interact with RJ, like when he falls, you know, like when we were growing up, it was like, oh, rub some dirt on it, you're good. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
you're fine, you're fine.
Like you're okay. And even now, like we try to tell him like, hey, you're good. Like you're okay, you know? But if he cries and he wants a hug, I'm not going to not hug my son.
1000%.
If my son is sitting there crying because he's in pain, I'm going to let him cry. I'm not going to tell him stop crying.
Right.
You know, and there's a difference I feel between being able to allow your children to feel their emotions, especially for boys, versus just telling them, hey, you're good, suck it up.
Right.
And I think that being a part of this like older millennial generation, I think that we're really starting to see the effects of those things, of those phrases, of those words. And I even laugh because there's a mom that's on Instagram and she always makes these videos with her mom about like, we don't say this or we don't say that, right? Like the mom will say, or the grandma will say like, oh, come on, get up, I'm proud of you. And then the mom's like, oh, we don't say I'm proud of you because that focuses on like self and like, you know, because then if you're not proud of them, it creates insecurity and different things. And she just like goes in all this stuff and the grandma's like, what the heck? You know what I mean? So it's like there is the extreme on both sides, but it just cracks me up because I really think that our generation is understanding that like, hey, we can't say certain things. Like these things actually affect our kids. These things affected us. And I think it's just so crucial to just even see that for our boys.
Yeah. I know growing up, there are times where I felt like, even as a woman, you know, I couldn't have, or a young girl, just kids, even just kids in general. Sometimes little kids, big emotions can make people uncomfortable. And sometimes there's this need to be like, oh, shh, because you're making people uncomfortable. Oh, you're making me uncomfortable. Which at that point, it's like, that's more about me than about you, you know? And I think about that with my son. And it reminds me of the Bible verse where it says, like in your anger, don't sin. And I want to teach him it's okay to be angry. But practically you can't hit someone, you know?
Yeah.
So, but you can be angry. You can stomp around in the yard and just feel your feelings. And then, you know, we're going to come back. And we'll figure it out. Or a lot of times with my son, he just needs to feel it and then he's totally fine. Like he just gets mad, you know, frustrated. And sometimes he genuinely just needs a hug. And I think that is also important. You know, asking Holy Spirit and just, you know, Pastor Janine, she would always tell me, like, discern your child. And I think that's so important. And I think of that and I trust that God has given me a good intuition for my son. And also realizing that I do, maybe there's certain things that I might naturally do for him that might not be the best. So I know that too. But with his, you know, he has big emotions as a young little boy. He's almost 3. And sometimes he just needs to be like held close. And so I will just hold him. And sometimes it takes, you know, 30 seconds or 5 minutes. And then it is amazing. He'll just go on and play quietly. He just needed a minute. But sometimes I'll see him and he's being loud and he's yelling at me. And I say, okay, we need a timeout. Because that you're being rude and disrespectful and we can't do that. And so it is discerning, you know, you can't just be, anytime you hear a loud noise, stop it. No, what if he actually did get hurt? You can dismiss that? That's not okay. So I think discerning your child, discerning the situation is so important. And being just checked in. I think a lot of times as parents, we can get overwhelmed and it's easy to check out. But I think we should really strive to check in because I think we make better decisions. We respond to them better when we are present with them. And if that means you need to take a break every once in a while, you know, then do that. But yeah, I've noticed that with my son and with his big emotions, just helping him through that. And, you know, sometimes he'll cry and it's so funny. Like, I love my parents. It's just so funny. Like, he'll fall. I'm like, oh yeah. They'll say, you're fine. It's okay. And I'm like, but what if he's not? What if he's not? That's okay too. And so every time, like, are you okay? I'll ask him instead of saying, you're okay. Are you okay, buddy? And he'll be like, yeah, I just got a poo-poo. Ouchie.
I love
and
it.
honestly, I see, like, we are really close, me and my son. Like, we have such a special bond. And I feel like a lot of that is because I'm tuned in and checked in. Not perfect by any means, but I've learned from other parents and things like that. Like, I have a lot more resources, I think, than other people do. So I'm able to do, you know, I think what I can.
I love that. I think checking in is definitely something that needs to be like, it needs to be in like a parenting book. You know what I mean? It needs to be in resources. It needs to be in teaching, like in classes and things like that, because I think that, you know, sometimes even as moms and stay-at-home moms, we're just on. There's no off. There's no break. There's no, you know, you don't get a scheduled 15. You don't get a scheduled hour lunch. You don't get to walk away from stuff. You don't get to clock out, you know. But I think that sometimes we can mentally check out. And it's like, we're still there. My son's still sitting here playing. But like, I'm not interacting. I'm not engaged. I'm not anything. And I think sometimes it can cause more damage for our kids than good. And I think that just being aware of that, you know, for me at least, has been really good. And with Ryan being home a lot more now, I've been able to like tell him like, hey, I need you to take him. 100%. I need like an hour. I need you, you know, because that's something that I think I have struggled with having resentment towards my husband, because for him, he gets to wake up whenever he wants. He gets to come out. He gets to sit on his phone. He gets to do these things. And I love him to death. And we've had these conversations because for him, he still gets to focus on himself. For me, my brain will never not be me and my son or me and my kids. So while he does come in and he helps or he does different things, if RJ needs a diaper change, he's not immediately, to go do it. Or if he needs to eat, he's not immediately the first one to like react to that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because we're constantly thinking like, oh, it's been an hour and a half since he had his last snack. And, it's been 2 hours since he slept. Like if we're constantly in this running schedule in our head.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think that it's just genuinely like, I've had to explain it to him of like, my son is always going to be like an extension of me. And so I can't just turn that part off of my brain, even if he's not with me. Like even right now,
100%.
I'm like, is he eating? Is he, getting enough water? Like, is he, you know what I mean? Because again, it's like, if you don't know your kids and your kid's sitting there crying, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you like can't tell, you can't tell that like, oh, he hasn't had water all morning. He probably needs some.
Yeah.
Or my kid's upset about something. He's probably hungry.
Yeah.
There were a couple mornings where RJ was waking up and he was waking up just like kicking and screaming.
Like
and I would hold him and he'd like start hitting me. Like never. He doesn't like, he'll hit to be playful, but he's angry and he's crying and he's hitting me and he's screaming and he's throwing himself and he's all these things. Well, I didn't think about it until later on. It was right when we were transitioning him from nursing. And I would wait, I would get him or bring him out, give him a bottle, because we switched him to like the Ripple Kids, plant-based, unsweetened milk, all this stuff, whatever. Because we had him drinking regular milk for a while, but I started to see that he was like getting really constipated, stuff like that. So I think the dairy was just messing with him. So we switched him to his plant-based milk. And so I would like wait, get him a bottle, all the stuff. And he just was like losing it. He's losing it. I'm like, is he teething? Is he this? I'm trying to give him stuff, trying to feed him, trying to whatever. Nothing. He wouldn't take anything from us. And so I was like, what is going on? And like praying, I'm waking Ryan up. I'm sitting there crying. I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. Like, is he okay? Is he hurt? Like whatever. And all these things are running through my mind. And then I don't even remember how I figured it out, but I was like, he probably needs some milk. Literally his entire life, just until a few days before that, he would literally wake up and get milk. He'd go to sleep, get milk. Before a nap, get milk. And then it's like we switched him, and now I'm waiting to bring him out and stuff, right? I'm still giving him milk when he comes out here. But for him, he's like freaking out because he's thrown off. And so then I was like, okay, so now every morning I hear him wake up. I get the bottle. I bring it into him. I give him his bottle. I change him on the changing table. And then I come and sit down on the couch with him, and I hold him while he drinks his bottle. And he's great. And he doesn't wake up screaming. He doesn't wake up crying. And it's just like understanding even just those things, those little changes. And he's been very adaptable from all of our moves and all these different things. But I'm just like, I needed to tune into that and to check in with my son and realize that like, okay, my son is not just sitting here. He doesn't just sit here and just hit me. He doesn't just throw a tantrum. He doesn't just get mad for no reason.
And you know him.
And that's the thing. That's why it's like, okay, now I need to understand that, like, okay, something is off. We need to figure it out. We're going to figure this out together, And I didn't sit there and get mad at him. Oh, we don't hit Mom. Oh, you hit me. You're going in timeout. What would that have done to him? You know what I mean? That he's like, he can't talk fully yet. He's trying to communicate that, like, something's wrong. And if I just instantly, oh, you're hitting Mom. Okay, you're going in timeout. You know what I mean? What is that going to do to him, to his spirit and to his emotions? And he's like, I'm trying to communicate that, like, I'm hungry. I want some milk, And he's getting to be a big boy, so he's drinking a lot of milk. So even if I give him like a smaller amount,
like, heck no,
he comes and he's like, he'll put the bottle in my hand and he's like, more. And now he's actually saying more. So he's like, Mo. And so it's so cute. But you know what I mean? So those are those things that it's like checking in. Like that is like the perfect thing. And like, to understand that, yes, we need to be checking in with our kids.
And it's tiring but I can't believe that, like, I get to be that person for these, like, 2 little kids. Like, I'm the only one that gets to be that person who knows them this well. And they're so special and they're so sweet and they're, like, these amazing little kids. And I get to be their person for as long as they let me, right? And like, it's hard. It's hard emotional work, but I mean, anything worth doing is really hard. And I am like so grateful at the same time that I get to be the one that takes care of them every day, that I get to be the one that knows them like I do. And you know, and some days it is hard. Some days it is overwhelming. And I've had to learn, in order to be checked in as much as possible, is I do need breaks.
Yeah.
You know, my husband gets off from work, and I say, I just need 20 minutes. I lay on my bed face down. I literally lay on my bed face down and just like sit in this place of like surrender to the Lord, you know, and then I just like read my novel or something.
I love that.
You know, or something like that. And the thing is like, you know, and knowing yourself is like, oh, I'm feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And if I stay in this place, like, you know, I might lose it a little bit or just be not patient or whatever. And I'm like, you know, I just, you know, at this time, I just need 20 minutes. Or it's okay to put Bluey on for 20 minutes too. That is totally fine. You know, and like knowing yourself, because we don't have an infinite energy, right? We're not God. So being like, I want to be checked in as much as possible with my kids. And in order for me to do that, I need to spend 20 minutes with the Lord. Yeah. You know, in the morning, like, I need to read my Bible, or I just need to read my fun novel for a little bit, or and have them watch Bluey while I cook, so I can just maybe put my headphones in for a few minutes and have peace. But the whole goal for that is really like, you know, I want to be all in with my kids as much as possible, but with the awareness of I'm not an infinite, you know, my take isn't, you know, infinite, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, is what I think about. Yeah.
I just always think of like every single job that I've ever had, they require you to take a break. Yeah. Even if it's 10, 15 minutes. Yeah. And it's like, illegal, why do we, you know what I mean? But it's like, even with that, I'm like, why do we have this expectation that like moms don't need that too? Right. And not a break. It's like, it's always so controversial to talk about, because it's like, I don't need a break from my kid in a sense of like, I need you out of my face. You know what I mean? Right. Like, I can't be,
it's not really about
I can't be near you for 20 minutes. You know what I mean? Right. Or even the same thing with my husband. Like, I love my husband to death, but we're both very, very independent people. We were both very independent before we got together. We stayed very independent, but we were always like together. But like to the point to where, you know, we had the same job, same church, same friend group, like all the stuff. We were just always together. But times where we did have apart was also very healthy for us. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, we hang out, we do all this stuff, but then Ryan would come and play Fortnite for like 2 hours at night, and I'm in the room watching a show, or, you know, reading a book, or working on something. Just to be alone. And even just that time alone, you know what I mean? Like, just to focus, just to like, because again, yes, we're married, yes, we're one, but we're also individual people. I like shows that Ryan does not like. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to sit there and watch Downton Abbey with me. You know what I mean? Right. And like, I don't want to sit here and watch him play Fortnite all night long. You know what I mean? And there were times to where like, we'd be sitting together and I'd be on my iPad and we're just in the same room together, but we're still doing separate things. Right. But even with that, it's like, it's so healthy to have that, you know? And I know for like a lot of women, like, they don't even get a moment, like even single moms. I know. They probably are, you know, their kids are in like being taken care of by somebody else. They're working. They don't have, you know, even a moment to just be, you know? And so that like breaks my heart and stuff. But it's like, even in that, it's like, I feel like the Lord gives us so much grace, and that there are the moments to where like, you know, you're just sitting with your child for 20 minutes watching Bluey. Right. And that's like the most still that they've been all day long. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, even in that, you know, and sometimes I tell Ryan that I'm like, we'll have like a grocery run or something or whatever, or I'll do a Target run, and I'll do a Target pickup, and I'm like, I'm going to go pick it up. And he's like, oh, do you want me to go? And I'm like, no, I'm good. I can do it. Yeah. It's a 10-minute drive. 10 minutes.
Luxury.
By the time I get, you know what I mean? But it's like, you don't think about that. Yeah. And it's like, for my husband too, it's like, I had to like really like communicate that to him as well, because I'm like, I don't think that you understand. And I know that and it's okay. Yeah. That he'll never fully understand. Right. But I'm like, I need you to just get that like the 10, 20 minutes is like,
it's a total reset.
And it literally, it's so crazy how just that amount, or even just taking a shower by yourself for 20 minutes, how much of a miracle that is, of like just the 100%. Silence of like all that. But I mean, again, I'm still thinking, where's my son? What is he doing? All these things and stuff, right? Like, my brain never fully shuts off, and I don't think it ever will. Right. But even just in that moment, to just physically step away is a gift and it's a miracle in itself. And I think it's just, it literally really does like help reset you. And I think that there needs to be more research done on that, of like what that does for women.
Even the noise, like for me, I get like, you know, like overstimulated by just noise, and I have 2 little boys and they're just loud. And sometimes, you know, Scott gets back from work, like I just need someone to put earplugs in, you know, for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm a different person. I swear.
Yeah.
You know, there's this mom that I know. Sometimes, you know, when she's feeling that like overstimulated and just frustrated, she just puts her noise canceling headphones on for a minute, maybe puts, you know, has them watch TV or just play. They're just playing. And for 10 minutes, she just closes it. Like she puts worship on for 10 minutes and she's like, all right, that's what I needed.
Yeah.
You know, and just being aware of that, like, no, we're not God. We're not like martyrs. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there is time, like you can make that time, even if it is just 10 minutes, even if it is a few minutes. Like, you know, I love my job. I love my job as a stay-at-home mom. I love my kids. But also I'm aware that I'm not God.
Yeah.
I'm a human. And I, you know, am a needy child of God. Like, I really am. And that's so okay. That is so okay to be a needy child of God with your Father and to come to him and be like, help. I ask for help every day, all the time from Holy Spirit. Like, or even when I'm feeling like not joyful as a mom, I ask for help because like he is our ever present help.
Yeah.
And if he's like, I don't know, sometimes we forget that we have like him as our source. Yeah. Because sometimes like, oh, I just feel sad today. And one, that's totally okay. That's totally fine too. We're women, we have our cycles. And sometimes we're about to get our period and we're just sad. And that's okay. We're going to have a lazy day with my kids today. Perfectly fine. But some days, you know, you kind of feels like, oh, I'm just tired. I just feel weary, you know? I can go to the Lord. And even in the midst of it, I mean, I remember I was in the midst of praying and, you know, both my kids need something in the middle of it, right? Mommy this, mommy this. I'm like, okay. So while I'm reading a book, I'm still praying, God, can you just help me? And he helps me. And it really helps. Like my days are more joyful when I'm constantly going to him as our source. And it's okay to identify as a very needy child of God because that is what the reality is. Yeah. You know, like I'm not this woman who has it all together. Like I'm just this needy kid also in a way to their father, but he can help me. And so that's something that I've learned to like rely on more and like lay down my pride and be like, it's okay to be aware of like where I lack because like, you know, I said like in our weakness, like he is our strength. Yeah. And like, let us lean into that as like mothers with our kids. Yeah. And I feel like I've just gotten so much more closer to the Father, closer to the Lord because I've been leaning on him more, you know? And I don't have to settle for like to be like a weary, beaten down, like discouraged mom. I don't have to settle for that. Yeah. You know, and there's sometimes you feel like that's okay, you know, but like to have that be something that's marking me, like, no, you know, I want my kids to see a joyful mom, but not just for that. Like, I don't want to say, but like, I deserve to live that way. And that's what God has called me to. And so anyways, that's something, it's kind of a tangent. No, I love that. But, that, I don't know, him like really being my source and just like help. He just helped me. Yeah. I'm struggling today. Yeah. And the way that I've seen God help, I'm like, man, like all of a sudden I'm just like, you know, singing a song, dancing around with my kids. I'm like, this was probably the Holy Spirit that just like, you know, gave us joy in this moment because I asked. So like as mom, like ask for help from people and like, but from God, you know? Yeah. And there's just so much grace like over us.
I love that. Yeah. No, genuinely. I think it's truly amazing. Yeah. I think it's funny though too. I feel like, especially with biblical principles and characters and different things and stuff, I think sometimes we as women, you know, are like always, the pressure's put on us to be like the Proverb 31 woman. She goes to bed late because she's working and then she's up early and then she does this and like, she's like tilling the farm and taking care of her kids and her husband praises her and this and that and like all these different things. And while again, all those things are great to like strive for, if it's not a reality, it doesn't mean that you're a bad mom. I know. It doesn't mean that you're failing. it doesn't mean that it's like wrong or
Yeah.
anything, you know what I mean? And so I just like, I always laugh
Yeah, I
at
get
stuff like
that.
that, you know, that it's like, yes, this is like amazing. That's a great, like, I wish I had the strength to do that. I would probably have to drink like, you know, 3 Alanis a day to like even just focus enough,
To
you know what I
have
mean?
any kind of energy, yes.
Yeah, to
Yes.
just chase my son around, and you know, it cracks me up. And part of it too is that like I feel like, and we've talked about this, and this is like, since we talked about it, I have been so frustrated and upset, like literally angry that I've talked to
Yeah.
Ryan about it, and Ryan has been like, what is going on, like what are, and I'm like, it makes me so angry that I think about it, of like, our kids have so much energy, they're all this stuff, they're inside all day long
Yeah. I know.
in this Texas heat. You can't go
Texas.
outside. You can't do anything. I can't fully, there's a park down the street. I can't fully just walk to the park
It's
over there because
horrible
I'm dying from the heat
Yeah.
before I even get over there.
Yeah.
And then it's like seeing, you know, I was so jealous seeing you in
I know.
California and at the beach and all that, you know? And I
that
was
was
telling
nice.
Ryan, I was like, it makes me so angry because like, and I have been so content being in Texas
Yes.
since I moved from California. I have been very much okay.
Yeah.
I really do miss the beach because for me,
Oh, yeah.
for my family, like
That's
my mom
real.
and I would go, we would like, before I had work or after work or whatever, we would pack our bikes in our car and we would just go, we'd park. You pay like $5 for a
All
meter
day.
to park, you know, and we'd ride our bikes all day long. And then we'd go and we'd get food or we get coffee, and then we'd go to the Mexican restaurant, eat lunch, and then we'd sit on the beach and we'd paint and draw or go for a walk, or, you know what I mean? We
Yeah.
literally would do and we would spend all day there.
Outside.
Literally like the whole entire day from the moment we got there till like 6-7 o'clock at night.
Right.
And it was great, and it was just beautiful, and we just had the freedom to do that, you know. And plus we'd stay because I'm like, I'd rather, if I'm gonna have to sit in 2 hours of traffic, I'd rather sit on the beach for two
Yeah.
extra hours and just
Yeah.
hang out and then go home than, you know, all that. But even with that, it like makes me frustrated because I think how much better my son would be doing, how easier it'd be to put him down for naps or for sleep and stuff if he was able to burn out all that energy being outside and being able to be at the park or be in the beach or all these different things. And I like get so angry about it that I'm like, what the heck, you know, like why is it always so hot here, all these different things. And I really had to like check myself with it, because I've literally been telling Ryan, I was like, I don't want to go back to California, but like if there's a chance for the sake of our kids, like
maybe in the summer.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like maybe there's, you know, maybe there's a chance of that. But it just makes me like so sad because I'm like, you know, even for like those little things, even just getting out. And Ryan was even suggesting like, why don't you get up like when he first wakes up and you like, you know, go for a walk when it's like cooler and stuff or whatever. And I'm like, do you know how nauseous I am in the morning
Like
being pregnant
5
right now?
a.m.?
You know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, that's literally the reality of it.
Yeah.
And like, I don't have the
know.
energy, and part of me sometimes I don't want to. You know what I mean? I don't want to. I don't want to get up. I don't want to do all that. You know, I want to sit with a cup of coffee and be, and
Oh,
especially now because
100%.
I can't have caffeine right now, and I'm like, oh, you know, I'm like a cup of coffee would sound so great right now, you know. But even with that, it's like I just think of all these things, and I'm like, yeah, it would be so great, or whatever the case and stuff. And I sometimes think of like the Proverb 31 woman, you know, and I just.
Yeah.
I really had to like put that out of my head of like, or even just comparison in general to other
Right.
moms,
Oh, yeah.
social
Yeah,
media,
yeah,
different things.
yeah.
I'm like, I can't compare.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think comparison
Surrender
is the
that.
biggest killer of like contentment.
Yes.
And
especially in motherhood.
uh-huh.
Because there's always more you could be doing.
Yeah.
I struggled with that before I became a mom, just in my walk with the Lord. Like, there's always more I could be doing. I could always read the Bible more. I could always do more Christian things, right? And the more I matured, you know, in the Lord, the more I just realized there's just so much grace, you know? And then once I had my own kids, I'm like, man, I would hate for them to have that burden. That, you know,
Yeah.
oh, there's always more I can do. There's always more. Like,
Yeah.
that is a burden that's not from God.
Yeah.
Period. Just let that go. Like, stop thinking about that. Just let that go. Surrender it.
Yeah.
And just, you know, go to the Lord, and He will show you what you're meant to do,
Yeah.
and live a holy life. There we go.
Well, and that's
But-
the thing too of like
Yeah.
realizing that is where you move into works instead of grace.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like right now, you know, when we talk about grace, people are so worried that we're like, you know, giving a license to sin. And like, that's not what we're talking about. Like, grace is still the message, you know, grace is still what our lives are ruled by, right? Like, we don't need to worry about that. We're not talking about grace that way.
Yeah.
But even now when I'm talking about the grace of God, it's like, oh, there's that lie in the back of our minds of like, because people have abused it, but that's,
yeah,
that's not it.
Crazy. It's so crazy. Yeah. I think there definitely needs to be a lot of grace given for moms and parents in general. Yeah. And then for us to, in return, have that grace for our kids. Yeah. And I just think too, like, Ryan and I have been talking a lot recently about, like, because we had a conversation with someone and we're talking about, and our kids, came to us and lied that, like, they were trying to get on their phone late when, like, they weren't supposed to and stuff. And it was like, well, what are you doing? It's like, I was just trying to get on my phone to just text my friends. And they were just like, they're like, we caught them, but, like, then they were, like, actually honest of, like, I'm just going to text my friends. And they're like, but what's after and stuff. And he's like, yeah, I was trying to figure out the passcode that you guys have. I was just honest about it. And they're like, I don't know whether to be mad at you or, to commend you for being honest. You know what I mean? Yeah. And Ryan and I joke about that. I'm like, I don't know what I would do. Like, if Bub came to us and is just, like, lying to us, like, straight to our face about stuff. And plus, Ryan says that he was very, very sneaky growing up. I was not. I genuinely, like, I could not. Like, I would physically get sick if I was, like, hiding something. And my mom would look at, I would be like throwing up in the middle of the night. My mom's like, do you have something you want to tell me? And I'm like, no, and, like, and then afterwards I would, like, tell her, and, it was always something stupid, and it would just, like, cracks me up.
I had an extra cookie when you said no.
Yeah, or something, you know what I mean? Or it was like, oh, did you take this? And it's like, no, I didn't. But then, I actually did, And so it was always stuff like that. But Ryan's like, he goes, he's not going to be able to get anything past me. He goes, because I was the king of being sneaky, And so we, like, laugh about it. But I'm just like, I just think even in those moments of, like, thank God we're, like, nowhere near that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to worry about him being a teenager and lying about curfew or where he was or whatever. Right. But I just think of those things and I start thinking about, like, these conversations and different things that we're going to have. And I think part of it goes back to the difference between boys and girls. And it also goes into, the thing about, raising a man who's going to be a future husband, who's going to be a future father. And I think of those things. And one of the biggest things praying for grace for even now is having the conversation of pornography. And the exposure of that. Because I know for me personally, and even as a woman, I struggled with that. But because I was exposed to it at a very, very young age, accidentally, genuinely. We had, it's so stupid, but we had LimeWire back in the day on our computer. And we were all homeschooled, so we all had our own computers, right? And then the family computer. The family computer had LimeWire because my dad was obsessed with, like, making CDs and pulling music and all this stuff. He had all the 80s tracks and all these things. And I went and I was very, like, keen on downloading music and stuff too back then. And I think I was like 9 or 10 maybe. And I went to download a track. And when I went to click on the track for it to pop up, like the track to open, what popped up was a pornographic ad. And it was just a photo. And then it was like a carousel of photos that were a part of this ad. And I was like,
what? Yeah.
I didn't know what it was. I just knew that I felt weird. And I had immediately run and told my mom about it. And then she shut that down immediately. Like, we never had LimeWire again after that, And, but it was just like that. And I just, like, I still to this day, like, can see that image in my head of what it was because it was so traumatizing.
And it was just like in your face,
literally.
Like such a
it wasn't like I found some magazine and got curious. It wasn't like I had
it was such an accident.
I genuinely had no idea, and I was so sheltered. And like, I mean, literally to the point to where even when my mom had to have the talk with me when I was starting to get my period and go through puberty and all these like different things and stuff, I still didn't understand what any of that meant. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't comprehend the birds and the bees. I didn't, you know what I mean? I just understood that there was like a man and a woman come together and, make a baby. You know what I mean?
No details.
Like, no details. Oh, okay. So I didn't figure any of that out till I was like in college, genuinely. I was like 18, 19. And I had some stupid friends who were over there talking about this and that and stuff. And I was like, what is going on? They're like, they're like, man, you really were sheltered. And I was like, yeah, I actually like really was. Like I always was, even like, I was very much the sheltered kid to where I didn't listen to secular music. I listened to only Christian music. And if I listened to secular music, it was like I was going to hell. And then on top of that, it was also like I wasn't allowed to watch Hannah Montana, High School Musical, like all these different things. So even when I went to hang out with other homeschooled kids, they were watching Hannah Montana and I had to sit in the other room by myself. Because I wasn't allowed to watch it. And because I was trying to honor my parents and be honoring before the Lord, even at a young age.
Like that desire was there.
Yeah. It was like, well, my parents don't let me watch it, so I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah.
So then, you know, I started to get angry as I got older. And then my siblings are sitting there watching, singing High School Musical, all this stuff, you know. And like, I wasn't allowed to watch it because, oh yeah, the romance side. We don't want you, you know, to think about dating, all these things and stuff. Because again, wasn't even back then, purity culture, all that, wasn't going to date and stuff anyways. So it was like all these different things. And so I literally had no understanding, like genuinely no understanding of any of that. So when this happened, when this incident happened, it really messed with me. And then as I got older and started to see more things or understand certain things, and even in TV shows and movies and stuff, as I got older, because I'm like, I can watch PG-13 movies now, you know what I mean? Not feel guilty, you know what I mean? And so it was like, I just started to like understand more stuff, and then it really started to mess with me. And I actually had a pornography addiction that started around 18, 19 and went on for years. And it was only until I finally like surrendered to the Lord of like, okay, I know. And I was waiting for marriage. I was all these things. And in my head, even with that, I was like, well, this is okay because I'm not doing anything with anybody else. And that was my excuse in my head. But then I got to the point to where I was like, I know for a fact that this is going to affect me in my future marriage. And I know that if I wouldn't want to be married to somebody who was doing that or focusing on those things, because I'm like, I don't want to compete with the kind of crazy stuff that's out there. You know what I mean? And I don't want to compete with this image of somebody that you have in your head, because my body is not fake. I don't look like that. I don't sound like that. All these different things. And it was the reality of it. And we like, I really had to bring that stuff to the Lord, because I was like, I can't do that. This is not going to be that. And so I really struggled with that a lot. And so I know that the struggles and the addictions for that can be for whoever. It doesn't matter. It like transcends. But I really do believe that there is something more critical that happens in men when they're exposed to that, when they're addicted to those things, and how it even just shapes like who they pick for relationships, how they interact and relationally,
even personality stuff. Like, it can affect all that. Yeah,
so that's something that we're definitely praying about now and stuff. And I know that we've had those conversations too about that.
I know. Even when I first found out I had a son, I was like, oh, the puberty years. Like scared of them. But the more I talked to my husband about it, the better I felt. And I think for me, that's something I'm really going to lean on him about. I mean, he has, you know, plans on how to talk to them about everything, and just being an open door and being someone that leads them in purity. And I think, again, as a woman, it's so important who you marry, because
100%.
You know, I am grateful, you know, for my husband and the way that he lives a life of purity. And I have the utmost confidence that he will lead my sons in purity. And, you know, that might not be something they want to talk to their mom about. That might be something they want to talk to their dad about. I just want to make sure our home is free of shame while being a home that protects their innocence as long as possible. There's certain things we're not going to do. Just going into it with eyes wide open. I don't want to not, you know, be aware of things just because they freak me out. It's not fair. Like, for example, like sleepovers. We're not doing sleepovers. We've already made that decision that we're not going to do it. Too many horror stories. There's too many young men that was their first exposure to pornography. Was at a sleepover at a house that didn't have as many rules online and things like that. I mean, a lot of first exposures with young boys, 7-year-olds old, you know, are at a slumber party. And preemptively, I want to talk to my sons about, you know, if someone does show you a certain picture, you know, like, come, we talk about it. You're not going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
You will never be in trouble if you talk to us about it.
Yeah.
And my goal is to not have him be in that situation, but, you know, have a plan for if he does come to me and say, hey, Mom, like, I don't, you know, like at recess, whatever, someone had a phone and showed me this image.
Yeah.
And it made me, and I feel shame. And just having that open dialogue before even the exposure happens, when they get to an age where that conversation would be appropriate. This is things that me and my husband are already talking about. And practically, my husband's saying, I want you to work out. I want, once you get into puberty, the first thing in the morning, let's get up, let's go for a run.
Yeah.
We need to do a cold shower, take a cold shower. Like, even practical things that my husband wants to equip our young sons with to fight. To fight that fight. And we also want to raise sons that are mature enough to get married when they're young. That might be a controversial thing to talk about, but I think it's godly. I think it's godly if a young man, you know, seeks to be a provider at a young age, you know, that desires to take on the responsibility of a wife and a child. I think an issue with young men nowadays that I don't think is godly. I think that something has even, like, this idea has kind of snuck its way into the church of, like, waiting, but not waiting for the right reasons. And it's waiting, like, oh, I'm waiting for my wife, but it's hidden under passivity. It's hidden under fear of, maybe fear of failure, maybe fear of responsibility. And I really believe that this is an issue with young men today, and even in the church. And that's not the type of young men I want to raise. I don't want to raise men who are afraid of responsibility. And so if they're waiting, it's because God is calling them to wait. And I, you know, I can be confident in that. But I feel like, unfortunately, that might not be the case for a lot of young men now. And I want to equip my young men, you know, to be of the point of, like, hey, yeah, I'm 16, 17, I'm struggling, you know, like, I have these desires, but, like, I am becoming a man that can, you know, be in a place where those desires can be fulfilled in the proper setting, which is marriage. So that's something I think about. I want to raise these young men who can be providers at a young age, who are not afraid of responsibility, and are equipped with practical things to fight sexual sin. You know, no shame. There's no shame in our house. Protecting their innocence from a young age. And even, you know, like what we said with my husband being like, all right, you know, in the morning, maybe that's the hardest time, which my husband tells me is fine. You know, hey, we're going on morning runs or something like that. And and just, my husband is telling me he wants to be an open book. If you've seen something, you're struggling, we're going to constantly be talking about it. I mean, we're going to have meetup, we're going to talking about it. I'm not going to force you, obviously, but yeah, like, it's just a constant conversation. So anyways, I've thought about it a lot. I have 2 boys. Maybe we'll have more. I don't know. I think the sexual purity can be such a big thing.
I think that that's the difference between, like, what purity culture was intending to do, and the practicality of what needs to be done. Because
that makes a lot of sense.
Growing up in it, it was like, stay away from each other. You guys need to, you know, boys and girls don't mix. You know? And all that. And it just was always, like, such a taboo thing.
Like a shame, right? And like, you felt shame.
If we had the conversations, or even, like, my biggest thing was, like, if I was even taught to just have a healthy friendship with guys. Just building a friendship first and not be thinking, oh, we went to coffee, this is probably going to be my husband. You know what I mean?
Look at, like, that stress.
All the pressure, all the different things and stuff, you know? And then half of the people that I was raised around, they got married at young ages, but because their thing was, you know, better to be married than to burn with lust. And it was like, you know, self-control is also a fruit of the spirit, right? You know? So it was all these, like, different things that would come up.
That's the other side of that coin.
You know? And so, and half of them now are divorced because it's like, there's so much more to marriage than just sex, you know? And it's like, you don't understand that, you know? And so I see all these different things, and it's crazy to me, you know, of just how much shame there is still in the church how much shame there is put on these things. And I think that if we do have these open conversations with our boys, if we are talking about this more and not making it such a taboo subject, there won't be the shame attached to it. And the shame and condemnation is what then creates the isolation and what
it's hidden,
which is what helps keep that stuff in the dark and what helps keep the cycle going.
Right.
You know, and so I love that. I think that that's such a good plan and strategy. And I think, again, because we could talk about these things and you know, read your Bible more, be in the Word, all this stuff, but then practically, you know what I mean? Practically, what do you do? And I like heard, you know, from, I don't remember where I heard it from, but they were saying that like for men, like the urge for that, or like the like that thing that like switches in their brain of like, I want to do this, it lasts for 3 minutes. And somebody was saying, if you can fight
to know
that urge,
that's a good information to like equip
for those 3 minutes, if you can fight that off, you can get past that. And that's why they say too, taking a cold shower helps with that, because it helps lower the like cortisol or the different things and stuff for it. And it's like, you don't understand that like these things, yes, it's like a spiritual, it's like all, you know, mental, it's like these different things, but it's also a physical thing that is like reacting in our body. And it's like, it's okay to feel these desires. It's okay. It goes back to, again, it's okay to feel these emotions, but what are we going to do about it? And I think that even that of training your boys now of like, hey, it's okay to feel these emotions, but like, what does the Bible say of us doing with this? What do we, you know, how do we combat this? How do we take our thoughts captive? How do we, you know what I mean? And so it's also this thing of like, I'm not gonna feed into, you know, because what goes into your eyes and your ears goes into your heart, and that's gonna be fueling those things. So again, I'm gonna be protecting what goes into my kids' eyes. I'm not going to let them just be exposed to anything. I'm not going to sit and growing up, I was obsessed with listening to like hip hop and Drake and all these like things. But it's like, what are some of the biggest things that they talk about? These descriptions of women and all this stuff. You think that it's going to be okay? I'm going to be protecting my son from all this stuff, but I'm going to sit here and let him listen to Drake all day long.
Great.
You know what I mean? No. And let him fill with these images and creating the stuff in his mind, you know? And so I'm just like, even in like just the little, just even in these little things that it's like, it's so crucial to understanding and to taking a hold of these things as parents, taking on that responsibility for our children. And yes, there is going to come a time to where they're going to have to take these things on their own. But in the meantime, I'm going to make sure that I'm equipping them as well as I can. So it's we got to think about it. It's crazy. It really is crazy. And again, obviously there is a difference, and there are different things that you have to worry about for boys and girls. You know what I mean? Because my biggest fear is like, if I have a daughter, I have to worry about her not getting pregnant. You know what I mean? And it's like, and then on the reverse, you have to worry about your sons like not getting a girl pregnant. You know, and obviously like, I don't believe our boys, like that's a worldly perspective. But you know what I mean? Like, but that's what I'm saying. Like that's like the difference between the two is like, one, you have to worry about, you know, about being a good man, being a good father. And the other one, for a woman, you're going to have to worry about, you know, the insecurities, the different things. I know what I went through as a girl growing up, and I always swore I never wanted a girl. Never in my life, because I'm like, I am so terrified for her to go through the things that I went through. I was bullied all through my life by some of my closest friends. You know what I mean? Like I was treated horribly. And again, because like I said earlier, I didn't watch Hannah Montana. I was even ostracized from Christian kids in the church. You know what I mean? So I'm like, it's just, there's so many different things that I'm like, there's obviously different ways to go about different things for boys and girls, but I'm also like, I know that raising godly kids in general, there's so much to it, you know? And I think that right now I can't, you know, I can imagine what it would be like to raise a girl, but right now I'm entrusted with raising a boy. Right. And so because of that, what do I need to focus on for him? What do I need to do for him? How am I going to raise him and stuff?
And I feel like it's important, like having our sons feel strong, feeling capable, and having purpose. I think that's so important as a man, and it protects you from sin. I think, because like as a man, if you feel like, like I'm contributing, like I am building something. Like I don't know whether that's having them being involved in, I don't know, a project, something that gives them confidence. I think that's a good thing to think about as well.
Literally. I love that. Well, I am so thankful that you got to come and share, and I'm so glad that we got to have this conversation, and I can definitely see us continuing this in the future. So I love you, and I love you too. I'm so grateful to have you. So Well, thank you guys for tuning in to the Nursing Mothers Room. I hope that you learned something, gained something, or even just kind of felt something from our conversation and the stories that we shared. And if you did, let us know. Reach out to us in email or social media. And we will see you next time here in the Nursing Mothers Room.